This is the story of the Rossmore Leisure Worlds, the success story of a concept that became a plan that became a way of life. Communities built to meet the needs of men and women over 52 years of age, called Rossmore Leisure Worlds. Here in Seal Beach, California, is today's 541-acre Rossmore Leisure World, the first Leisure World, a community of 6,470 new garden manors, over 6,000 already completed and occupied, 3 clubhouses, a complete medical center and amphitheater. A community built by the men of Rossmore Corporation, builders with proven past success in major project developments. These are the men who built 3,500 homes in the famed walled city of Rossmore. And this is Ross W. Cortese, president of Rossmore Corporation.
Hello, I'm Heidi Cortese, the proud daughter. Thank you very much. I'm the very proud daughter of Ross and Alona Cortese, who envisioned, planned, and starting in 1961, built what was initially called Rossmore Leisure World. In less than 3 years, they built over 6,000 residences right here for active people who are 52 years or older.
And this is Ross.
Cortese. I am the inheritor of their heritage. I am CEO of Ross Construction Company. RCC is the East Coast affiliate of the corporation that built the innovative developments of Freematic in Fullerton, the walled city of Rossmore, and before undertaking Leisure Worlds, all 7 of them nationwide. This community in which we currently stand, Rossmore Seal Beach, was the very first of these groundbreaking, wonderful establishments. This community, now known as Leisure World Seal Beach, retains its importance as my parents' proof of concept that older adults could be drawn into what was initially a real estate development, but that could become new, cohesive, and engaging communities. Rossmore's Seal Beach development initiated many of the innovations that now distinguish our concerns for older adults and the disabled. Seal Beach was among the first communities designed to guard the health of the aging population. It would guard their welfare through design based on older adult needs and continuously available on-site health facilities. It would enrich their relationships by adding to their social network people of their own generation from all over the world. The fact that we can all gather here 60 years later to mark what was at the time a concept described as revolutionary, utopian, and idealistic is testament to the accuracy of my parents' vision. I am more than pleased, in fact, incredibly delighted to be here today to join the present leadership of this community to celebrate the historic importance of Leisure World Seal Beach and to renew the partnership between the mutual corporations and the Golden Rain Foundation, both of which my parents and their colleagues first envisioned 60 years ago. I congratulate the mutual officers and the GRF directors here today and honor the thousands of public-spirited women and men who filled your positions in the decades prior. Together, you have contributed to fulfilling the promise of which my parents dreamed. I thank you so very much.
Hello, I'm Courtney Lindsay. I'm an actress in LA. I have Screen Actors Guild card, IMDb site. You may have seen a 3.2 seconds of my face on a McDonald's or a Honda commercial, or you could find my face on the cover in the Best Buy $5 movie bin. It's a living. And I'm here today because my professor from the University of Louisville was William Thompson, who is now the vice president of the Golden Rain Foundation. That statement may make it seem like he had some inside pull, but recognize that you're seeing me here do something I've never done before. I have never narrated a live event, nor been expected to transform the signing of 16 contracts into a fun way to spend the afternoon. I am here because when Professor Thompson was still teaching, he said something to his last class of the semester that sounded something like this. There will be a day, maybe tomorrow, maybe 20 years from now. On that day, you will pick up the phone and it will be me. This is how he was. I will ask you to do something for me. You may not want to do it. You may think you don't have the skills to do it. But before you tell me you can't, remember this. I've done you a big favor. I have attempted to teach you what I know. I also know what you are capable of learning. So when I ask that question, you will not say that you don't think you have the skills, because I know that you do. If I call you, it's because I know you've got the skills, even if you don't. If I didn't, I wouldn't have asked. Thus, when I call, instead of saying no or I don't think I can, you will say instead, why, thank you, Professor Thompson. I would love to. Now, I've been told that everyone has a story about how they ended up here at Leisure World. You just heard mine. But my predicament got me thinking. So much, in fact, nearly everything depends on someone else from the previous generation. For a baby, there's a parent or two that has learned enough to keep them alive. There are inventors that have created buildings or discovered medical advances. And for each one of those parents and inventors and discoveries, there's another generation behind them that gave them a boost up. Thinking about Leisure World in that way let me see my perspective in a different way. Leisure World isn't for old people, for my grandparents. Leisure World is being kept thriving by the generation today, so it will be here when I and my generation will be able to enjoy its benefits when we retire, and hopefully when my daughter, who just started kindergarten, when she retires too. It's not a plunge into the past, nor even self-centered focus on the generation now occupying your residence. The people in this room know better than anyone else. You and your residents are investing in my generation, and new amenities and reserve funding for the roofs and streets and sewers and sidewalks. But before we get overly indulgent and orthopedically dangerous self-patting of one's own back, remember that you leaders and you constituents are similarly the beneficiaries of the commitments of the generations who occupied your unit before you. And those who fed the roofing reserves that protect you from the rain that we hope we get soon. My generation depends on you, and you depend on the generations that came before you. So, let me tell you about the first generation of Leisure World. On June 8, 1962, Harry Ezra swept the sidewalk leading to his new garden home inside Rossmore Leisure World. Mr. Ezra and his wife Katie were among the first of 48 families who moved into Leisure World that morning. A pipe fitter by trade, Harry was also a pioneer. He and Katie were joined what had been described in Life magazine as the most revolutionary new concept in housing since World War II. The sub-800 square unit and Mutual One that Harry and Katie moved into was likely smaller than their previous home. But the community containing their home had outsized ambitions for size and innovation. Developer Ross Cortese and his business partner, wife Alona, were intending that when finished, Rossmore Leisure World would be the world's largest housing development for seniors and the nation's largest ever cooperative housing development. It would also feature many firsts: America's first mass-marketed housing project, the first ever walled senior community, the nation's first all-electric community. To one writer, the place seemed truly futuristic, and each unit with the Corteses promoted as manners, floor-to-ceiling windows, let the outside in. New building techniques hurried along the construction. Included were wall-in radiated heat, all-electric kitchens, and wonder of early 1960s wonders, a garbage disposal. The place was explicitly designed for seniors. As Mr. Cortese said early, Leisure World was proof of concept for many now accepted conveniences and accommodations for seniors and the disabled. Doors, kitchens, and bathrooms were designed to accommodate their use by people in wheelchairs. Wall electrical outlets were raised so residents wouldn't have to kneel or crawl on the floor to plug in appliances and lamps. To limit the danger from falls, showers and built-in seats and steps were avoided wherever possible. Street curbs were sloped for the same reason. And in one area, futuristic transitioned into idealistic. The Corteses, who had studied health issues, offered Leisure World's residents a truly utopian prospect: that their monthly assessment to the cooperative would also provide free health care and prescriptions in their own community, just steps away from their units. However, in retrospect, perhaps the most far-seeing aspect of Rossmoor Seal Beach is that it embraced the idea of co-op, that is, cooperation. Co-ops were a known commodity in New York City, but generally in buildings with relatively few units. In Leisure World, the cooperative concept will be tried in a community of 6,000 units. The Federal Home Administration, the U.S. government department guaranteeing the loans that built Leisure World and other 1960 housing communities for all ages, mandated that citizen councils govern the developments. The challenge was more pressing for communities like Leisure World. Were people past their working prime? Would they be able and depended upon to make these decisions? The question was, could older adults both keep track of where they laid their keys and keep tabs on building projects, infrastructure maintenance, and the management of a small city requiring millions of dollars of revenue to keep running 365 days a year, year after year? To much of the 1960s public, it was a very legitimate question. Nationally prominent newspapers and magazines of the time, like the New York Herald Tribune and the Saturday Evening Post, speculated that Leisure World and similar communities were merely warehouses for old people, or places where residents lacked responsibilities and will lead to faster deterioration of their brains. Within a few years, the answer came back about whether older adults could govern their own affairs. The majority of those community councils mandated by the federal government, even ones serving younger adults, broke into dysfunction. As a result, the federal government gave developers greater control in building and then running their own communities. Strangely, that did not happen in Leisure World. The community has been blessed by decades and what are now generations of public-spirited citizens, volunteers who took up the task of serving on community governing boards, chairing committees, and founding organizations to help their neighbors. In Leisure World, that sense of service lasted through the government's abandonment of the idea that residents should control their own lives, that contemporary U.S. citizens would not sacrifice a second of personal time to nurture their community. And here we are, still, 60 years later, carrying out what to some seems to be a utopian goal, that older people, through their experience, brings wisdom. There's wisdom enough so that when we apply it as a united citizenry, we don't need caretakers to manage our own affairs for us, simply because we're older. The elected mutual officers and GRF directors in this room represent the tens of thousands of resident volunteers who have labored to make this community work during the past 60 years. We join together, representatives of the Golden Rain Foundation and officers from each of Leisure World's 16 mutual corporations, to complete what seems to be a mundane task: to sign a contract. It's a routine that the mutuals perform several times a week, $600,000 here to pay for re-roofing several buildings. $79 here to hire a wrangler to disentangle a honeybee hive from a carport eave and move it to a place with more flowering crops and fewer elders armed with raid. But this contract is different. It defines the very basis of the partnership that GRF, the mutuals, and the residents of Leisure World. Among the many promises that the Corteses made to Leisure World's first incoming residents that became binding for the mutuals. If your faucet fails, we'll fix it for free. If your water heater fails, we'll replace it for free. Same with your originally installed in 1960s fashionably turquoise refrigerator, your pink oven, or your olive green stovetop. Bugs, we'll take care of that. Lawn mowing, landscaping, that's without additional charge. Roofing, painting, exterior wall repairs, got you covered. And what about providing water, managing the community's insurance protection, collecting resident payments, recording real estate transactions, doing the books? Those of you in this room have enough experience to know the problem with making all these promises. There has to be someone to keep them. Therein comes the management agreement. The management agreement defines what the mutuals have promised to their residents and locks in the Golden Rain Foundation to provide many of those services collectively. Each mutual would not need to hire plumbers or carpenters or electricians. They would not need to store the scores of refrigerators, stoves, or standard wall plugs and light fixtures that might need to be replaced every year. The Golden Rain Foundation would provide all of those services at a predetermined price. Sounds easy. Starting on October 1st, 1962, when Mutuals 1 and 2 had enough residents to form their own independent governing boards, they also signed a management service agreement. Same with all the other mutuals, as befitted the unpredictable task confronting what, on its completion, was to be the biggest cooperative housing community in the nation. The management agreement was vague. Cause the building, appurtenances, and grounds on the project to be maintained according to the standards acceptable to the owner. Make contracts for utilities, vermin extermination, and other necessary services. Place orders for such equipment, tools, appliances, materials, and supplies as are necessary properly to maintain the project. The original maintenance agreement for Mutuals 1 and 2 were 5 pages long, with a 6th page for signatures. And in what might also be evidence of the unprecedented nature of the project, the original management agreement also recognized that this whole experiment might not work. It was one of the most easily breakable contracts ever seen. Here's the contract language. Unless canceled pursuant to Section B, C, or D, this agreement shall be in effect for a term of 1 year from the date of execution. Don't like what you're getting? This agreement may be terminated by mutual consent of the parties at the end of any calendar month. Additionally, either party could bow out over the objection of the other if they gave notice within 30 days of each annual ending date. However, the measure of the cooperation and good faith between the mutuals and the foundation is evidenced by this one sentence in the management agreement. This agreement is automatically renewable at the end of the original term and any subsequent terms for 1 year, provided neither party has given notice of intent to terminate. And so it has been every year since 1962, incredibly more than 60 years after Harry and Katie Ezra moved into their Mutual 1 unit. This same piece of paper has governed Leisure World's mutuals and the foundation, which now takes a budget of over $40 million a year to maintain. The same piece of paper. So today, we start on a new era with a new management, but hopefully anchored in the same partnership. This agreement that we anticipate signing during the next half hour is different than the last one. Now, 7 pages long. It has a backup document more appropriate to an institution that has learned it's going to be here for a while. Instead of those vague list of expectations for maintaining the property at standards acceptable to the owner, today's proposed contract lists 48 pages of tasks that GRF provides to the mutuals, which does not begin to encompass the task of the shareholder and owner services that the mutual directors offer. There are 419 separate duties listed. We are pleased to be joined today by many of the people vital to this effort. Both Mark Weaver, GRF's Director of Facilities, and Jody Hopkins, who heads the Mutual Administration Department, labored to enumerate all the tasks that the mutuals request from the GRF. This 3-year job of cataloging these duties was undertaken by a joint GRF and mutual task force led by former Mutual 7 GRF Director Kathy Rapp. The tough job of writing and editing the contract fell to another joint committee led by Mutual 12 Director Carol Demosi. The committee, how do you say it? Domacy. Ha! There we go. Learning. The committee members also put in long hours. I would ask them to stand as I call their names. Representing GRF were Marcia Gerber, Philip Friedman, Paula Snowden, and Paul Pratt. Mutual presidents on the committee included then Mutual 15 President Jackie Dunnigan, as well as Mutual Presidents Carson Dolch, Levitt, and Melody. We will recognize the chairs of the committees later, but I would like to lead the applause for all the committee members. So. And with that, let's get to the business of the day. During the next section of this program, each mutual corporation president, along with the GRF president, will sign 2 copies of their respective contract. 1 copy is for the mutual's archives. Another will be placed among the foundation's permanent records. To emphasize how rarely an event such as today happens, the mutuals will sign in the reverse order in which they formalized their initial management agreement during Leisure World's early years. Thus, Mutual 17 will be the first to sign, Mutual 1 will be the last. And since the original contracts were witnessed, today's contracts will be witnessed as well by a mutual officer chosen by each mutual's president. I will be calling each mutual's 2 representatives to this signing table right in front of me. GRF President, Marcia Gerber, she's going to sit right here in the middle seat. Each mutual president will occupy the seat to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the mutual's designated witness will occupy the seat to the left of Ms. Gerber. After both respective mutual and GRF presidents sign the contract with a pen especially dedicated to the occasion, Ms. Gerber will pass both documents to the mutual witness. The witness will sign the contract and present the copies back to Ms. Gerber. She will give 1 copy to the mutual president and keep 1 for the GRF's permanent files. As a remembrance of the occasion and in honor of the work that you have done to preserve the community through the past 60 years, we wish both the president and witness to keep a pen as a token. Professor Thompson will assist in the sorting job of keeping all the contracts sorted and delivered during the ceremony, and more mobile is Melina Avila, and the Foundation's communications specialist will be delivering the documents to and from the signing table. And we've got a lot to do today, so I would suggest any lingering any type of arthritis symptoms you might be having or experience. If you don't, we would appreciate you not clapping until the All right, so to begin, I invite GRF President Marcia Gerber to the table right here. And then I now ask Mutual 17 President Kathy Gussman to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual Witnessing Officer, Board Secretary Marty Williams, to take the left seat. Mutual 17 is the newest of the mutual corporations and is the only mutual in which member-owned condominiums are available. The mutual's existing management agreement was signed on December 1st, 1981 by the mutual's then secretary, Susan Mills. For GRF, it was signed by Howard McCurdy, GRF's president, in 1981. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Yes.
All right. Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 17 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both parties to the contract and ask the representatives from Mutual 17 take one copy of the management agreement and the pens with which they executed the agreement and return to your seats. I now invite Mutual number 12, President Richard Carson, to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual's witness officer, their board's Vice President, Rose Marie Sprague, to take the left seat. Mutual 12 was the only defector from the original management agreement. Mutual 12 signed the original agreement in the fall of 1963. It sought greener pastures with a different management company, but returned to the fold shortly after. Its current management agreement was signed for the Mutual on March 14, 1967, by someone with the most atrocious handwriting who had the last name of Page, we think. The GRF line on the contract was inked by the then GRF president, H. Dean Campbell. So please sign neatly.
You try hard, what happens? This is the surrender room.
President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Yes, they have.
All right. Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 12 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both parties to the contract and ask that the representatives from Mutual 12 take one copy and your pens, and please return to your seat. Ah, yes.
Don't lose that pen. Got the extra?
I now invite Mutual 15 President Bruce Bowles to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber and the Mutual's Chief Financial Officer, Barbara Kenoy, to take the left seat. Mutual 15's agreement signing date is also out of sync with its natural numbering. By the time Mutual 15 was being built, Ross and Alona Cortese started to sense that the original conceptualization that older adults would want to live in one-bedroom units was flawed. Mutual 15 was delayed to become a test bed for Rossmoor's newest development inland from Laguna Beach. It tested out various floor plans, atria, multi-floor buildings, and other features that would be incorporated into what is now called Laguna Woods. Mutual 15's current management agreement was signed for the Mutual on January 1st, 1965 by E.L. Olson. The GRF line in the contract was again finalized by the GRF president, H. Dean Campbell. And then President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Yes, they have. Thank you.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 15 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both parties to the contract. I now invite Mutual number 16, President Dale Watkins, to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual's witnessing officer, Vice President Lonnie Gardette, to take the left seat. Mutual 16 is the smallest of Leisure World's mutuals. First constructed as model homes to showcase the upcoming Rossmore Leisure World. With 5 buildings and 60 units, it has less than 10% of the housing units as the largest mutuals. Its current management agreement was signed for the Mutual on January 15, 1964 by D.C. Gardner. The GRF line was signed by the president, T. Cole Cawthorn. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Yes, they have.
All right. Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 16 and the Golden Rain Foundation has been formalized, I congratulate both parties to the contract. I now invite Mutual 14 Vice President Bob Steffen to receive the officially signed copy of its management agreement from President Gerber.
Do you want to explain why?
Yep. Mutual 14 signed its first management agreement on November 1st, 1963. Mutual 14 President Lee Melody signed the present agreement last week before leaving for a cruise. Thank you. I now invite Mutual number 11 President Peggy Best to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual's Physical Property Director, Susan Shaver, to witness the signing from the left seat. Mutual 11 signed its management agreement on September 1st, 1963, less than 14 months after the very first residents moved into Leisure World. And with that, I wish to introduce 2 names to you. I emphasize them because they will speed up the second half of this signing session. The contract was signed for Mutual 11 by D.C. Gardner, and the GRF was represented by the signature of Lewis M. Letson. Gardner and Letson. Remember those. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Yes, they have.
All right. Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 11 and the Golden Rain Foundation are properly executed, I congratulate you both and contracting parties, and ask the representatives to remember your pen and then to keep your copy as well. Thank you. Thank you. I now invite Mutual number 10, President Ruth Ann Artlett, to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual's Vice President, Esther Cummings, to take the chair to the left of President Gerber. Mutual 10 signed the original agreement on the same day as Mutual 11, September 1st, 1963. Recall our friends, Gardner and Lutzen? Mr. Gardner apparently had a wonderful moving company. On a single day, he signed the management agreement for 2 different mutuals. Lutzen. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed properly?
Almost.
Almost. Got it.
Thank you. Yes, they have.
All right. Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 10 and the Golden Rain Foundation are executed, I congratulate both parties to the contract and ask that Mutual 10 representatives take 1 copy of the management agreement and the pens with which they executed the agreement and return to your seats. I now invite Mutual number 9, President Beth Mayer, to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual Chief Financial Officer, Diane McFadden, to take the left seat. Hi. Mutual 9, which proudly brands itself as 9 is fine, signed the original agreement on July 1st, 1963. This time, the mutual signature was by Edna Ilinek, and Louis Lutzen kept up his busy pace and represented the GRF for this signing as well. President Gerber,
Do I shake your hand? Sure.
I'm going to say that they've been executed properly, yes? Congratulations, Mutual 9. I now invite Mutual 8, President Jerry Dolch, to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual's Chief Financial Officer, Sandy Weisenstein, to witness the signing from the left seat. The management agreement bringing Mutual 8 into the fold was signed on June 1st, 1963. Mr. Lutzen signed for GRF, such as we have become accustomed, but in what is perhaps a testament to the go-go Wild West days of the early 1960s California real estate, Mr. Lutzen signed the same contract on the line reserved for Mutual 8 representative.
Yeah. I think you should say that you're Carson Dolch.
President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed?
Yes.
All right.
They've been executed by Carson Dolch.
Okay, Carson Dolch. Thank you. I now invite Mutual 7 President Sue Rotter to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and Mutual Vice President Roger Bennett to occupy the chair on Ms. Gerber's left. The management agreement between Mutual 7 and GRF was signed on May 1st, 1963. Mr. Letson signed for GRF, such as we've become accustomed to. However, we add a new continuing character, Mr. C.J. Mercer, into our play, penning his signature to officially bring Mutual 7 into the fold. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed in what today's lawyers would consider proper?
Yes.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 7 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties. I now invite Mutual 6 President Lynn Badak to take the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber and Mutual Vice President Charlotte Cohn to occupy the chair on Ms. Gerber's left. May 1st, 1963 was a very busy day in Leisure World history, and also for the signing partnership of Letson and Gardner. The two men respectively signed for the foundation and for Mutual 6 to initiate the management service agreement on that day.
That's right. Charlotte, can you check and be sure I spelled my name right? She did.
President Gerber, have both copies of the contract been executed and witnessed?
Yes.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 6 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties. I now invite the president of Mutual 5, Linda DeRungs, to occupy the chair to the right of Ms. Gerber, and the Mutual Chief Financial Officer, Ken Cudd, to witness the signing from Ms. Gerber's left. The date, May 1st, 1963. The protagonists are old friends, Messieurs Letson and Mercer. Their daring actions, signing their third contracts, Mutuals 5, 6, and 7 in one single day. With this, they established the record for the most management agreements signed in one day. For 60 years, it has remained at 3. You are witnessing history today, as we've already inked 11 on our way to the new benchmark. I mean, the pens are nice. Like, they look really good.
Thank you for voting that husband out.
President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed?
Yes, they have.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 5 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties. I now invite Mutual 4 President Mike Levitt to approach the signing table and Mutual Vice President Dan Conley to witness the signatures from Ms. Gerber's left. It's now the early days of 1963. On February 1st of that year, Mr. Letson and Mr. Mercer signed the management agreement with the Golden Rain Foundation. Perhaps it's time to learn about Mr. Letson. The 35-year-old Louis Letson was hired by the Corteses away from the St. Francis Medical Center in Linwood, where he was already the hospital's chief administrator. The initial skills he brought to Leisure World was to manage the community's most daring idea, the healthcare system that was part of the community's assessments. While Medicare made Leisure World's medical plan obsolete, Mr. Letson became a trusted Rossmore employee, helping the Corteses start what would finally total 6 leisure worlds across the United States. Mr. Letson died in 1997. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed?
Yes.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 4 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties. I now invite Mutual 2 President Terry Nugent to join Ms. Gerber at the signing table. The Mutual 2 Secretary, Holly McLaurin, will witness the signatures. Mutual 2 is the largest of all the Leisure World's mutuals. It has 874 units scattered across 58 acres. Its original management agreement was signed on October 1st, 1962. Mr. Letson signed that day for both Mutual 2 and for the Golden Rain Foundation.
Signed for everyone.
He did. President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed?
Yes, they have.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 2 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties. My. Dare I say it? Mutual 1. This long track through the contracts may have done more to convince the mutuals to merge than any missive from concerned shareholders. And to the cheers of millions, I now invite Mutual 1 to the signing table. Oh, you're ready. President Ruben Colazzo will join Ms. Gerber and be accompanied by the Mutual's Vice President, Sandra Luther Stark, to witness the signatures. The formulation and building of Leisure World, of which Mutual 1 represents the beginning, likely ranks as a landmark bet in a real estate history. The initial cost estimate in 1961 was $70 million. By the time plans were finalized, the Corteses were on the hook for a $150 million loan. In 2022 dollars, that's $2.4 billion. On October 1st, 1962, when Louis Letson sat down to sign the very first management agreement on the lines for both Mutual 1 and for the Golden Rain Foundation, he started our successful experiment in older people managing their own lives. I now ask for the final time today, President Gerber, have both contracts been executed and witnessed?
Yes, they have.
Affirming that both copies of the contract between Mutual 1 and the Golden Rain Foundation are formalized, I congratulate both contracting parties, President Colazzo and Gerber. The officers from Mutual 1 may take one copy and also keep their pens. As the representatives for all the mutual corporations have now signed the agreement, President Gerber would like to acknowledge those who thought very exhaustively and worked very hard to bring this moment to fruition. Just as each of the mutual representatives received a commemorative pen, I ask the following attendees to accept President Gerber's offer of their own pen as a reminder that we appreciated their leadership and the years that went into the project that accumulated into our gathering today. Could the following individuals gather between the GRF directors and the mutual presidents for this presentation? Linda Stone, Susan Hopewell, Mark Weaver, and Jody Hopkins. Yes, please come. Come on up here. Sure. Ms. Gerber acknowledges these people for their contributions. Linda Stone, GRF president from 2016 until 2019, provided much of the impetus to undertake the project. Susan Hopewell, GRF president from 2019 through 2022, pushed the management agreement to its conclusions. The three others, all department directors, undertook minute audits of their operations, which found the over 400 discrete tasks that mutuals asked of the GRF. Mark Weaver is the Director of Facilities for the Golden Rain Foundation. Jody Hopkins is the Director of Mutual Administration. And Carolyn Miller is the Foundation's Director of Finance. I'd like to invite two committee chairpersons who also put extraordinary hours into effort today. Kathy Rapp, and we're going to have to say it again, guys, Carol DeMosi. Is that? Domasi. Domasi. Did I say it? Okay. All right, please don't. Oh. The special wishes of members of the community go to these two chairpersons and the leadership they displayed along this long task. As the last acknowledgement, while today is not historic enough to make the evening news, it will, for the foreseeable future, govern the lives and welfares of the residents in Leisure World. As a result, President Gerber would like to recognize two other individuals important to the history of our community. She first wishes to ask Margaret Gillian, the president of Seal Beach Leisure World Museum and Historical Society, forward. We'd ask you to come up here and accept a pen commemorating this day from President Gerber. Ah. Important. President Gerber, we hope that, well, we'll give it to her. Yes. Oh, okay. I'll leave it here. All right. And as a final note, President Gerber invites Miss Heidi Cortese, the daughter of our founders, to join Miss Gerber at the podium.
Hi, Heidi. Heidi, I am certain I express the feelings of hundreds of thousands of residents who lived and thrived in Leisure World over multiple generations. One critic attempted to criticize Leisure World Seal Beach by calling it the Shangri-La by the sea. However, and certainly unintentionally, the writer nailed how its residents have come to love this community and the rich life it has provided us. The inspiration and foresight your parents possessed to create this environment in which senior adults can remain active, healthy, and fulfilled has been a gift to us. The supportive friendships and continuing family relationships we have maintained because we weren't exiled to way out in the desert have enriched the lives of the people who lived here before us and enrich us today. The community leaders in this room are proud to be the keepers of this heritage for the original Leisure World. As we continue to enjoy the richness of life your parents' energies provided us. While I know it is a tiny keepsake of your visit, Heidi, we hope that when you see this pen, you'll remember with delight that we have loved to have your visit here. Personally, I would like to say welcome home to Leisure World. And I need your pen.
Bless your heart. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
I would like to say it's a rare occurrence when anyone can visit any housing community that's over 40 years old and say it's improved. It is a real pleasure, like you cannot believe, to come to your community and see it actually better than when my parents built it. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
President Gerber would like to invite all the guests to remain seated for right now. This partition will open, and then we would like for you guys to go that way. This formally closes the ceremony, codifying the management agreement between the mutual corporations of Leisure World and the Golden Rain Foundation, the first in 60 years. Thank you for joining us for this celebration. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.